Tommy Rex, and you're listening to today's Boondoggle.
This is Mark Metcalf, and you are listening to today's Boondoggle with Bailey on Domain Cleveland Radio.
You are listening to today's Boondoggle with Bailey on Domain Cleveland Radio. Yes, Kato Kaelin listens to this all the time.
Welcome to today's Boondoggle. Now, here's your host.
I am Monty.
Can I graduate? Can I I'm gonna give you 100%. I've been crawling in the dark, looking for the answer.
What's going on, everybody? It's Bill Bailey with today's Boondoggle, and just chatting it up about how life keeps lifing, you know, with Colton Vance. What's going on, man? How you doing?
Hey man, doing great. Thanks for having me. It's an honor to be on here, and thank you so much for your service, man, and for what you do.
Oh, thanks, man. Appreciate that. Yeah, I was looking forward to this conversation. Sounds like you're helping others get through life when life hits them with things with your music, and I love that. But usually when I have people on for the first time, I like to go like way back. So like when you were a little Colton, you remember what you originally wanted to be when you grew up?
Oh yeah, that's an easy question. So I actually wanted to be a bull rider when I was little. So and a cop. So wanted to be both those things. My grandpa was a sheriff. My uncle was the chief of police of Wofford City, North Dakota. My parents rodeoed. So a lot of people ask what happened to me, and Slipknot and Jesus happened to me, which I know is an odd combo, but it's true. So
yeah, no, but it's good. I got you. I'm kind of similar things happen in my life, and then when at the house, like before Slipknot took over, and maybe even before Jesus stepped in, what was some of the earliest music you recall hearing around your house?
Oh gosh, yeah. So my parents listened to nothing but country music. That's like the only thing that they listened to. So, but I mean, it definitely had an influence on me for sure. So, I mean, I was obsessed. I mean, I'm a '90s kid, so like Chattahoochee by Alan Jackson just came out around that time. So I was obsessed with that, and then Keith Urban, man, Keith Urban, of course, Garth Brooks. Always on when I was growing up. My parents love Chris Ledoux, so a lot of Chris Ledoux and things like that. And like, there's things that I do appreciate about country music for sure. It just wasn't my thing. My cousin showed me like Deftones and like Metallica, of course, and Presidents of the United States of America, and Nirvana and like bands like that. So I really gravitated. I thought he was the coolest person in the world, right? He was always working on cars, listening to rock music. So kind of owe it to him for introducing me into like the rock and kind of metal world for sure.
Nice. And then when was it that you caught the bug and knew you're gonna start performing and writing your own music?
Yeah, man. So like I said, my parents rodeoed, so I grew up on a farm in North Dakota. I gave my life to Christ when I was 17 years old. The quick story behind that was I was very, very close to my grandma. And when she passed away, I was driving back home from school. I think it was some practice or something like that. It must have been like wrestling or basketball or speech or drama or something. One of those four. And I was really upset. And I was banging my fist on the steering wheel and my 92 Plymouth Voyager minivan saying, God, if you're real, show me what love is. And it was like, something just kind of popped in my head. I didn't know if it was really a verse because like my parents took us to church, but I just wasn't, what I'd say like a Bible thumper or anything like that. So I ran downstairs, grabbed my Bible at the bottom of my closet, and it was 1 Corinthians chapter 13 that said, what is love? And or said love, because I was asking God what love was, and then read that whole thing, and I was in shock. In fact, I was at my parents' kitchen counter, my mom was super busy, getting dinner ready and cleaning and stuff like that. And I was reading this chapter. I was like, Mom, you'll never guess what happened. And I told her, and she was like, oh, okay. She was like busy, but kind of half listening. And I was like, great. Now my mom thinks I'm on drugs or something, because I'm having this spiritual moment in front of her. She's kind of like, oh, okay, honey. Right. Have you been drinking water? Everything okay? So yeah, at that moment, is when, Jesus started changing my life, started listening to other bands besides Slipknot, was flipping through the channels one day and came up across on a video of Skillet's Savior song. And I really related to that and started listening to bands like Red and that kind of genre of music. And that's when things, I was like, man, I really want to do this, and of course, like bands like Breaking Benjamin and stuff like that. If you play guitar and sing, I was like, man, I want to be just like you. So that's when things really started to change for me. And I was just obsessed with it. So, it's probably so. To answer your question with a really long story, I apologize. I was about 17 years old.
Oh, that's good because you're. I was much older I was raised Catholic, and then I kind of like went, into the world. And as time went on, I got involved in, I couldn't play music, but I would book bands here in Cleveland and get involved in the music scene. And a lot of heavy metal and all that stuff, and the sex, drugs, and rock and roll life. And then I remember on my last deployment, I already had a couple daughters at home, and it was just like, I had like a kind of come to Jesus moment over on my last deployment, and the seeds were planted, and then I came home and had another spiritual experience similar to like what you're saying. And as I was kind of, when I accepted Christ into my heart, I was I was kind of like, how am I going to, I love all this kind of music. How am I going to be, I thought Christian music was going to be all like Kumbaya. And, I'm like, am I going to be, do I have to give everything up? And then there is this thing that we have here in Ohio called a Live Fest. And I went there. And it was Skillet and Red. I got exposed to them, and I was just like, all right, I can do this. So Skillet played, it's huge part in my my journey as well. So I totally relate to you sharing that,
Yeah,
and then,
that's awesome.
Yeah, man. And I got to share that message with John Cooper one time I had him on here. So that was cool. But so when you weren't doing music yet at 17. It was after you accepted Christ, you started getting into doing your own music.
Well, I started playing drums in 5th grade, and I thought, man, I'm just gonna play drums. Like listening to bands like. I remember listening to Slipknot's Wait and Bleed for the first time, and I was like, that is the sickest drum parts I've ever heard in my life. And like, I couldn't play it. It was like I was goofy footed. So, so I think I was 16. My parents bought me my first guitar, and then my brother started picking up drums. And he if you were to meet him, he doesn't look like that. Bro, I love you so much. So if you're listening, I love you. He just doesn't look like somebody that would be that would look like they would play drums like crazy good and coordinated and things like that. So, and I mean that in love. He'd probably laugh and say, yeah, probably. And he started picking up when he was about 8 years old, and he's 7 years younger than me. So he was about 11 when I really started getting a guitar. So we started like jamming together. So we would jam, we'd practice, we'd shake the whole house. So my dad got real smart and said, hey, you guys can practice out here. And he cleaned out a grain bin for us. So literally we would jam in the grain bin. We lost a lot of our hearing in that grain bin too, because we didn't play with headphones or anything like that. And yeah, so I mean, it was pretty much right. I would say I started writing my own music like when I was about like 17 and stuff. So um,
Nice.
was then. It wasn't anything good, but it was a lot of fun for sure.
So other than, grain bin jamming and stuff, was there a music scene where you grew up at? You guys got to go out and
No.
play shows?
Yeah, in North Dakota, not so much. There was this venue called the Red Barn, and it was literally a red barn. And I saw Spoken play there, and then I don't know if anybody remembers a band called Righteous Vendetta, but they did like their first tour like right as they were coming on the up and up, and they opened up for Spoken, and that was an experience. So we got to play. We never got to play at the Red Barn, but we played at this other venue that was like owned by a church, and that's where we kind of cut our teeth. Was there. So I went on to Bible college and then was a youth music and youth pastor for a while. That didn't pan out very well. That just wasn't my jam. And I moved back to my parents moved to Montana, so I followed suit, moved to Montana too, and that's where we started playing shows and stuff like that. So the music scene in Missoula, Montana, especially the metal scene, is awesome. I would say it's either really extreme, like almost black metal sounding, or like acid metal. I don't even know. So here we are, kind of a rock band, kind of a hard rock, post-metalcore band, playing all these shows and stuff like that. So all that to say is like, I always felt like out of my element, no matter where I was playing, whether it be North Dakota or Montana here. But the music scene's good, I'd say, in Montana. North Dakota, yeah, not so much.
And then, obviously, it's your name, but have you always just played as, Colton Vance, or were you in some bands?
Right. So my brother and I started a band called Twice a Year. We did get to play more than twice a year, though. And I went under like a different artist name, thinking that like I was going to come up and have a band play with me. But it's just a lot more creative and a lot more free to be solo. So I had another name called Shine Through This, but it's just easier. You're not having to wait on everybody's like tracks and stuff like that. And like, hey, what do you think of this song? Going solo is just like you just go for it, man. And it's a lot faster to bust out songs and make decisions yourself. Even though I'm a classic overthinker, I always have to ask my wife, and I've got some friends that are, besides my brother, that are great sounding boards, that give me honest feedback, which I appreciate a ton. I wouldn't be doing any of this without them, for sure.
Nice. Yeah, and I was like listening to some of your music.
Oh, thank you.
From your solo, album or solo project, and I want to ask you about a couple of the songs that I listened to, and you tell your story, at what inspired you, writing this, like Meet Me in the Quiet.
Oh man, thank that one. To be honest, it's been a year of growth for me, and when you grow and then you're having to set boundaries for yourself, it can feel like really, really lonely. And I struggle with what's called rejection sensitivity dysphoria. It's a neurodivergent thing, and I always overthink and always worry about, is so and so mad at me? Did I do something to make them mad? Or if I'm hanging out with friends, I'm like, I come up with so many reasons to say no, to hang out, thinking that they absolutely hate me and all this stuff, and it's hurtful. It sucks because like I'm going through a season of setting boundaries, which isn't fun, because when you set boundaries, you make people mad anyways. But even though you're not in control of that, so I was going through that, and then dealing with like this diagnosis on top of being ADHD and other things, and it was just a really hard season. So I just came out with the pre-chorus. It's 2 a.m. I'm wide awake. Mine's running in circles I can't escape. It goes into the chorus, meet me in the quiet, because I hate myself. And I was kind of going through, I don't want to say like suicidal ideation, but I just felt like I wasn't good enough. Like I wasn't good enough to be, a husband to my wife, which my wife is incredible, and a dad to my kids, my two kids. I just felt like kind of like an imposter syndrome, if you will.
Mm.
So that's kind of what I've had to pretend for so long that everything's good, everything's all right, and stuff like that. And that, and when you go into therapy and you're really in the weeds of therapy, you find out how much you've been like masking and stuff like that. Thankfully I don't do too much, didn't really do a whole lot of masking around my wife and kids, so they're the people that I feel the most normal around and can act the goofiest around it. And it was around everybody else. It was like, oh, I got to act reserved. I can't act like myself. Can't make any jokes. Can't make any fart jokes. But, as you set boundaries and you get older, you just find out, like I am who I am and make no excuses for it. So that's kind of the reason behind that song. I just wanted to write something that would relate to other people that might have been going through like what I've been going through. So that's a long story in a nutshell.
Yeah, I think that's why I really gravitated to that one as well, because I relate to a lot of what you're saying, and I
appreciate that.
Yeah, man, and it's like my fiance is neurodivergent, and so I've been learning a lot more. Like I'm ADHD, I mean, I don't know, like she says I'm not. I mean, it's like a comparison game, because she's very much, and she's that person that's like up at 2 a.m. doing crafts and stuff because she just can't shut down. I mean, she's a firefighter EMT, so she works funky schedules anyway. But but yeah, I've been learning about learning a lot about myself and people like that. What you were just talking about. So that's I'll have to play that for her, but
wow, yeah. Let me know if she likes it.
yeah, for sure. But yeah, that yeah, it gets heavy trying to like wear a mask or wear armor all the time, and what she's been helping me be is my authentic self and be all right with, the flaws and defects and all, and that's so much more freeing. I'm also in recovery, and I love like men's meetings where dudes are just vulnerable, where we don't have to pretend we're all UFC fighter warriors and shit. I mean, we could be on the outside, but things get heavy, and it's good to go have a place where we can just be real, So music helps us guide us to that, and I thank you for your part in that.
Wow.
I wanted to also ask about Pixels.
Yeah, man. So to be honest with you, I went through a season where I was just absolutely addicted to social media with that RSD, kind of like worrying about what everybody else think. It just kind of it absolutely destroyed me. And it almost destroyed relationships around me too, just I just kind of had to write something to kind of vent, about that. Because like I think social media is great, but like if you go to the park and like well, I went to the park the other day with my kids, right? And I was playing with them and I was having a good time, and like and I don't want to sound like super judgmental, and like, look, I've been there too, but like every dad that I saw with their kids was like every 2 seconds was like, and they have one ear in, staring at the phone, like watching a video or whatever. And like this one dad, he was kind of playing with his kid, kind of not. And then he acted like that they were playing, that they were really having a great time because somebody FaceTimed him, And I'm not saying FaceTime is social media, but it just, there's just a persona that you put on, and so that pretty much just sums up the chorus for that. Is like, like I try to run away to 1,000 people on a pixel screen. Like, what's more important to you? Like what's in front of you or what's on your phone? So I actually switched to a flip phone, which everybody makes fun of me for, but it's helped me kind of see, what's in front of me and focus on, not that I'm perfect, I'm still working on it. So I mean, that's kind of what that song was kind of birthed out of, was kind of like that kind of torture ish, pattern that we put ourselves in that can be really self-destructive. So
Yeah, man, and I love that. You're not. I know quite a few people that have done the flip phone switchback, and they seem to be, like and I know people that have just been able to get off social media and just be like, it don't serve me,
yeah,
my struggle, and maybe it's just like, because I mean, I still am an addict at heart, just because I'm sober don't mean I'm not addicted to other things, or I don't have that addict mind. But
right.
I try and justify, like, well, I got a podcast, I got to promote my podcast, I got to go on, unfortunately, social media to promote my podcast. But there's a lot of times I get caught up in other, what so and so's fighting about, or whatever they're eating, or whatever. It's like none of that. It's just like, just post your stuff and get off and get back into the world, right?
Right.
So
Yeah.
I got to be more disciplined about that, and I could do that from a computer. I don't need a phone to do it, but it's like convenient when you're out, to just be like, okay, let me update this real quick,
Oh, yeah.
but yeah, dude, that's I feel you, man. That's that's and I see that I've been that dad,
Yeah.
um,
Oh, me too. Me too. So I'm the pot calling the kettle black for sure. Like I just, I go back in time and I grieve those moments of like, man, I wish, my wife has a couple pictures where I'm just like, on my computer, and my son's looking at me, or my daughter's looking at me, and I'm like, dude, what are you doing? So I mean, I'm not like, I hear you on that. Like we all kind of, we can, if you're not disciplined and if you're not aware and finding more about yourself and your triggers and your tics and things like that, like we can substitute one addiction for another for sure. But it's funny because so social media, in my opinion, and I don't mean to get off on a tangent, I'm so sorry, but social media is a false sense of connection. And the opposite of addiction is connection, authentic connection, not a synthetic connection. So I have a YouTube, that's it. Like I had some friends like, oh, you should get an Instagram because musicians live on Instagram. I'm like, or they can just go to my Spotify,
yeah.
call the radio station, ask them to add me, yeah. So
Yeah, it's funny though. The interview I did right before yours, we went to a similar. I mean, he said the exact same thing. The opposite of addiction is connection, and yeah, we think we're connected to. Like I remember that last deployment I was on before I came home, and Christ came into my life, and I was still doing the MySpace thing back then. MySpace was still a thing. And that was, I mean, that was its own thing, but it was also like, I don't know. It was, I enjoyed it. It was fun. Yeah. I could listen. It was music related. It was all this, whatever, who's my top 8 or 5 or whatever it was, and then, I was getting ready when deployment was ready to wrap up. Like I Facebook was still somewhat new, and I was just like, it don't look as appealing. But deployment's getting ready to wrap up. You go somewhere overseas and do a thing with. You start off with strangers, and by the end of it, they're family. So everybody's like, "Hey, man, I want to keep in touch with you. Add me on Facebook." So then I gotta start a Facebook thing, and I go in with the purest of intentions, to stay connected with people. And it got you, man. They ask you the right questions, and then, you might, if you know this person, you might know this person, and bunch of people that wouldn't even give me the time of day in high school are suddenly hitting me up,
Yeah, and like I can understand that, but again, it's like, yeah, you can be friends with me on Facebook or in whatever it is, but like don't you dare text me, don't you dare call me, and I don't know, I because that was my thing. Well, I want to stay connected with my family, and stuff, and like, shoot, I'm only a phone call away. I'm only a text message away,
Yeah.
So and that was kind of one of those things that I realized that, like, oh man, like, as much as people say like, oh, I'm like your friend, I'm like your best friend, but they don't give you the time of day when you're struggling with something, or if you're going through something hard, or don't even like. I'm not saying that they have to. That oh that I, like that
Yeah.
country song. You find out who your friends are for sure once you do get rid of it, and I think it's funny. I think it's made me realize, like, like how many friends that I really didn't have, but then it really showed me, like, the authentic friendships that I really do have. The people that reach out all the time or want to go and grab coffee and stuff like that. So, but yeah, no, I definitely hear you on that. I miss MySpace. MySpace was fun.
Yeah, yeah. I thought I was reading something that they might be bringing it back. I don't know. We'll see. But I I was just thinking too with what you were saying. I like the whole we've been so desensitized and like what we think were our like relationships. And I know during like the lockdowns and all that stuff, we were all driven back, to even more on social media, and the connection was pulled. But seeing like the divide, like all these people that like we all got to get either music or something brought us all together. Our common ground was strong and we were all tight. And then all of a sudden we're separated, and then we're being like, well, I believe about this and you believe about, and the next thing you know, it's like the masks are coming off and everybody's like hating each other. And like, it was just like, it was crazy, man. And then I remember like, and unfortunately, a lot of that, a lot of those relationships haven't completely healed, but it was like, as soon as they started opening up again and music festivals or whatever were going on, it's like we put all that stuff behind us and we're just enjoying music or whatever together, but
Yeah.
it was crazy though, that like you were saying, like who loves me for me, it got to the point where it's like I had people like that I thought were lifelong friends just like blocking me and cutting me off, even family, because we didn't align on what we felt strongly about, I guess, or we forgot about what connected us and we're fighting over some outside issues. But then I also was like, shit, where was I going with that?
Story of my life.
Yeah, I know. It was like we forgot like what really like what brings us together, and we're like
Yeah.
the ones that I guess the ones that stuck around, or I know what I was going to say. Like one thing I did, it was just like if I saw a bunch of stuff that maybe I felt strongly against that my friend was posting, I learned to just scroll past it.
Yeah.
I learned to be like, what? Do I value this person in the relationship more than I value being right? And 9 times out of 10, unfortunately, I would never get the same treatment. But instead of like ending the friendship, if it got irritating or whatever, I just would unfollow. I didn't unfriend. Wouldn't see it in my screen all the time. I could still, if they really need to get a hold of me, they could get a hold of me. But that's just me, it's just like, I either would learn to like scroll by and like, hey, that's their opinion. I don't agree with it, but, yeah, man, I don't know. It's not as easy for everyone, apparently.
Yeah, I think it's, and the algorithm, it's, and I'm not saying that all social media is bad, like for advertising and things like that. If you're a business, 100%, that makes perfect sense. But like, for what you're talking about, like right there, the philosophers back in the day, like Socrates and Aristotle and all them, what what they said that what they challenge people to do is find somebody that has an opposite opinion of yours, sit down and have a conversation with them, and hear what they have to say, the pros and cons of their viewpoint, and then they need to give you the same benefit to listen to what you have to say, and then like you agree with what you agree on, and then you can either decide, well, I'm not going to hang out with you again. But I think if you zoom in, it's hard to hate when you zoom in.
Yeah.
When you sit down, you have a conversation with somebody, and not to get, I don't mean this in a political sense, or anything like that, but I think that's what Charlie Kirk, was like challenging people to do when he was alive. It was that, like, let's not be afraid to have a conversation, with people. And it's funny because I think the people that really hated him, realized, man, I need to do research more on this subject and stuff like that. And he just schooled me, and not that I totally agreed with everything that he said, but I mean, I definitely agreed with a lot of it for sure. But I really loved the fact that he was willing to sit down with people that had a completely different viewpoint than him, and we're like, yeah, let's have a conversation, stuff like, you better have done your research, but like, let's have a conversation. Like I have friends that are, it's funny because like back in my day, it was like what really got people riled up, like when I went to college and stuff like that, was like whether you're Pentecostal or you're Catholic or you're Lutheran, and like what you believe in. And it's just like, man, I have friends in all different areas of what they believe religiously, what they believe politically, and I'm one of my best friends, complete opposite viewpoint that what I have, religiously, politically, and I mean, we're not really political. I'm not a political person a whole lot, but he is, and I love his opinions. I love to talk with him. But the most important thing is, like, if he needs somebody to vent to, like, I'm there to listen.
Yeah. And that's the thing too, like you just said, it's that connection piece, and what they did back in the day, sit down and talk to that person. It's real easy to read a post and get all infuriated and then post your thing, and then it's just like, if I do mine all caps, you'll hear me or whatever. I don't know. It's just like, there's no, there's no real in-person discourse, or whatever, discussion. And that's the key.
We need more of that.
Yeah, that's the key.
Absolutely.
For sure. And that's where, we need to challenge ourselves, to, be willing to sit down with somebody that, so yeah, hopefully people watching this will get that out of there, or somebody be willing to leave the light on, perhaps, for someone.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. That's funny because that's my kids' favorite song is that one. No, absolutely. I think that, like if we were in a dark room, like a pitch black room, and you had your flashlight, I had my flashlight, like we would help light the way for each other, and like, being there for one another, when people are walking through the darkness, is definitely something that I think that we all have a superpower for. And I think that we need to talk about and realize, and kind of like, I just wish we were more curious, So, not that I'm perfect. It's just funny because you would like to have an opportunity to sit down with somebody and have a conversation, but because of things like social media, you don't get that opportunity to. People are quick to block you versus like, man, I'm really curious to why you're thinking that way. I'd love to sit down and have a conversation with you, and then go from there. But anyway, sorry, I'm rabbit trailing like crazy today, but
it's all right. I know we got to get to your latest single though. And
oh yeah,
I want to talk. I mean, this is a really uh, deep song, and the message behind it and the inspiration. You mind sharing about feeling okay?
Yeah, so I wrote this in response to my friend's 10-year-old son who died in a uh, tragic drunk driving accident, and unfortunately, in this situation, the drunk driver was the boy's mom, and I didn't write this to you know. Be have the direction be I'm not angry at her. I mean, I definitely I grieve for that whole everybody involved in that whole situation, but I often think like, hey, what if you know and again, I don't know the whole absolute whole situation. I just know it's really hard to be a parent. It's really hard to live life, and when you're really down on yourself, it's easy to grab a bottle of whatever. But I don't think that we realize how much it affects others around us, and it can be easy to be intertwined with ourselves, and that goes into a whole different psychology thing of dopamine levels. Like, why would a drug addict uh, you know uh, neglect their friends and family for the drugs? And it's like, well, their brain is putting them in survival mode so much that they don't have an option. So but besides that, I I just wonder what, everybody does grief in different ways, and things like that. But what if we were brave? What if we were more curious and asking that question, are you feeling okay? So it wasn't a fun song to write, but I felt like I had to do something, you know, for my friend, and honor my friend's son. That wasn't just, oh hey man, I'm praying for you. So I just hope it brings awareness that, like, no matter, you know, I just hope people know that they're not alone in their grief, and that things are sad, but like we're fighting against principalities and powers that are on a spiritual level, not just flesh and blood. you
Yeah.
know so yeah, anyways, that's a really long story behind the song, but that's uh yeah, that was kind of the inspiration behind it. My wife helped me write, the pre-choruses and stuff like that too. And you know it's one of those things where, like, I feel bad about writing it, but I'm glad that I wrote it. And I'm out of all the songs that the PR company I was working with chose, like, hey, which song should we put on radio, I was shocked that they chose that one. I was like, what, the angriest one that I have? Okay. Because yeah, I am mad, I am angry, I wish things were different. I wish he would be 15, 14 or 15 today. So I don't quote me on that. So I'm sorry, but like, he had so much life ahead of him. And like,
Yeah.
this isn't the only story. It's just that, while I'm sad, while I have, it isn't just sympathy that I wanted to, like, put out, but like, hey, we need accountability, and
Yeah.
we need change. So
Yeah, for sure. And kind of like what you were just saying too, with the, like, being willing to ask people, how are you feeling? What's going on? Are you okay? The people got to be also, I mean, how it is at church, especially sometimes, like, hey man, how you doing? Oh, I'm blessed and highly favored. And everybody puts on their church mask and, acts like everything's great. I mean, when we jumped on together before we hit record, you asked me a question, and like, how am I doing? And I was just like, I'm not going to BS you, dude. I just had some stuff happen, and I learned, I try and, which I hope most people learn to do, is just like, be honest. It's like,
yeah,
do you want to hear what's going on in my life right now? You just met me via a screen. Probably
Yeah.
didn't, but it's like, I'm not going to sit there and be like, yeah, everything's great when I'm just trying to recalibrate my brain with some information that I just got hit with like 5 minutes before jumping on with you,
yeah.
but
I'm
yeah,
here for it,
people
man.
got to be willing to just be real, man, And
Absolutely.
when you went back to what was that, the rejection, what's
Yeah.
it called again?
Oh, it's a big word. Rejection, sensitivity, dysphoria.
Okay.
So, yeah,
Yeah,
that's
I
my
can relate to
psychologist.
that, man. That thing's had something that has controlled me for many years, and I'm finally learning through this journey in recovery. And I've been sober a long time, but this podcast and some other things I've been doing have been helping me feel comfortable in my own skin finally, where it's just like, when you put yourself out there, like I'm sure with your music, you put yourself out there, not everyone's going to like it. And there's people, it's really easy behind a screen to comment, this is crap or whatever,
Yeah.
and just say some really nasty things, and you just got to be like, okay, whatever. I know what I'm feeling when I'm doing it. I know what my intentions are,
Yeah.
like, and that was part of
Yeah.
the conversation I was having with a loved one before I jumped on. It's just like, do you know who you are? I mean, the world's going to come at you with a lot of stuff, but do you know who you are? And we both, and we're both of faith. I said, do you know who you are, rooted in Christ,
Mm,
and
yeah.
I don't always, every day I'm not rooted. I try and get rooted in the morning. I try and start, get that connection. So it's with me throughout the day. But when I am rooted, man, it's just like, let the rejection come, it's,
Dude, yeah.
I know what my intentions are and who I'm trying to be today, and I'm human. I'm not always going to get it right either.
Me either.
One thing I noticed with this latest single too, it was like, I mean, it looked like it was a family effort when I was reading the credits,
Yeah.
You had Brady and Hannah also help you
Yep.
talk
Yep.
about.
So my wife Hannah, gosh, she's an incredible musician herself. She's got some songs on Spotify, that I got the honor to mix and master, so you can go and check it out. Um, and yeah, my brother Brady wrote the drums for it and stuff like that. So it was one of our last songs in our old project, Twice a Year, and he's in like 15 different bands. So like when we decided like, hey, I just need to do this stuff solo, he was like, yeah, man, no worries. I was like, can I take that song? He's like, dude, yeah, hope you do something, good with it and stuff like that. So I mean, he's always, I'm just so thankful that like I get to write music with him and stuff like that, and I still get to bounce off ideas. And same thing with my wife too. I mean, the song wouldn't be what it is without her, and her opinions. And yeah, she's the first person that pretty much gets to listen to the songs. So that and a few other select group of people. And actually, I have a friend who's who I sent it to. He plays bass for Breaking Benjamin, and like this song wouldn't have come to life without him either, because I wrote the riff in a different key, and he's just like, yeah, man, like I don't know if you knew that, like that's kind of a key change. Like I guess it's kind of cool, but it's a little bit confusing. Like he was very sweet about it,
Yeah.
And I was like, oh gosh, I was like so embarrassed. So I went back and fixed what I needed to fix, and then sent it to him, and he was like, nice. So
And
I was like, okay.
that's what I was just going to ask you too, how, your wife's usually the first one to hear it. And I mean, she's not always like, oh, honey, this is great. Right. Does she sometimes tell you if that, like, I think maybe you need to, cause that's what we need. We need honesty. We don't need everybody just telling us that we're, everything's a home run,
Yeah, I'm usually sweating when I have her listen to something, because I'm like, did you listen to that song yet? And she's like, no, I'll listen to it right now. And I'll be like, okay, listen to it with your headphones. Let me know if something needs to change in the mix, because I do all my own mixing and mastering and production and stuff. And like I'm just sitting there like just like sweating, giving her like the side eye, and like, if she's going like this, kind of bobbing her head, I'm like, okay. But it's like when she does this and like is like really still, and does nothing, then I'm like, what did I do wrong? She's just got such a great ear. I'm so thankful for her. And yeah, her her feedback is honest. Thank you, Jesus. I've got some friends that like their feedback is honest. Like I had a friend with this song, or I guess a mutual friend, a friend of a friend that I really look up to, and they listened to it and they said, like, oh, it's solid, but it just didn't move, the needle for me, and I was like, but you listened to it, cool, and you said it was solid, so there
Yeah.
you go, and then it ended up opening the conversation of like, man, it'd be sweet to collab to come up with something, more interesting and together. So I took that
Yeah.
feedback as, you want to collab with me? Awesome. So yeah,
Nice. Nice.
yeah, I'm so thankful, man, for everybody around me. So it's like one of those things where like, it, not to get off on a tangent, but like, the opposite of addiction is a connection, but like, I think the opposite of success, the opposite of success is like not having your tribe, not having connection, not having those people to challenge you, So wolves aren't wolves by themselves, they have to have their pack. So
Yeah, for sure. Now, another thing I wanted to ask you real quick too before we get ready to wrap up, but because you mentioned, you do a lot of your own mixing and producing and stuff. When did you start getting into that on your journey? When did that become a thing for you?
Man, when I realized how much money it costs to have somebody really good mix and master it, I mean, my goodness, I'm still learning. I've had the blessing and the honor and the benefit of being able to book some one-on-one sessions with one of my favorite YouTubers, and I've learned a lot, from him. So what started it was, I'm broke as a joke. I can't afford a $3,000 mix, from, it would be awesome. So it really pushed me to try to do it myself. So I get really flattered when people say, I had one song that somebody commented and said, oh man, too bad it's AI. And I said, thank you so much. Because I'm like, if I'm, like if I can fool somebody to thinking that it's AI when it's not, like that's really cool, so I don't get offended by that stuff or anything like that. So, but yeah, that's what really kind of pushed me was I didn't have any money. So I got to figure out how to do this on my own, and just thankful for the people that were willing to show me. So this is what's good. This is what sucks, and, thankfully over the years, finally found, my favorite mix, to date, is the Meet Me in the Quiet song that you mentioned earlier. So, I'm coming out with an album in October. And so hopefully the production will be on the level that it needs to be. And if you comment on it and said it sucks, don't worry, I'll get better by the next single, group of singles that I come out with in the next album and stuff. So yeah, being broke.
Gotcha. But I mean, yeah, it's a good skill to have, and then when maybe even when you do have the money, and you get to work with whoever your dream producer is and stuff like that.
Oh man.
At least you'll get to sit in there, and know, you're not just, you actually know what's going on, and learn from them too, but
oh gosh, yeah, that would be so cool. Johnny K, hit me up, okay? George Lever, give me a call. Buster Odoholm, please call me. Okay, all right.
Now with the you mentioned the album then too, like the album's coming out in October. Where can or do you have a name for the album yet?
Yeah, it's kind of a working title right now. So I think I change my mind like almost every day. So I won't say what the title name is yet. So, but it'll be available, of course, on Spotify and everything. I'm trying to get like what's called a group page set up. So it's kind of like Patreon. So if you want to support me, of course, stream the album, like on Spotify, things like that. But I'll hopefully have a grouped page where you can check and see what's going on. I've got some collaborations with people that I really, really look up to, and So yeah, if you don't like me, maybe you'll like these other people that are going to be involved with it, and you can appreciate that at least.
Nice. Now, before we get ready to wrap up, I want to ask you a couple questions I normally ask my guests that I have on here.
Yeah.
We talked about, some of the bands that like inspired you early on in your career, but who are the top 3 artists you're listening to today?
Oh man, President. I love President so much. If you haven't checked them out, like they just released this song called I'm sure everybody listens to your podcast probably has heard them, but the Dark Heaven, oh my gosh, it's such a good song. Of course, Breaking Benjamin. I just think they keep on getting better and better with like every single release that they come out with. And I'm a diehard, like I love their first album. Didn't start listening to them till like their Phobia album, but I love all and appreciate their whole discography. And I love Skillet a bunch. I don't listen to a lot of them, but I honestly listen to a lot of oh gosh, Vola. I don't know if you ever heard of Vola. Vola is amazing. So listen to them and like Northwind a lot. Okay, I mentioned four bands, but
Okay.
those are my top ones for sure. So yeah.
Nice. I'll have to check out Vola. And then what class do you feel should be mandatory before graduating high school today?
To be really honest, I would say taxes and finance. Like, if we did better classes on that of like, this is how you can take care of your taxes on your own. If you start a business and like I would say like business taxes or something like that. Like that to me, or like business finance. Like let that not be a college course. Let that be a course to encourage, the younger generation. They're like if they want to start their own business, what that would look like, how they can make revenue and income and how they can do their own taxes and stuff too, save some money with that. So
Yeah, for sure.
yeah.
And that's the
That's
number
a
one
lame
answer
one,
I usually get is, taxes
Oh.
and finances. So there's definitely a need for that. I'm in my 50s and I'm just finally learning how to, how can I create wealth instead of more debt for myself,
Oh,
wish
let me
wish
know
I
when you
got-
figure it out.
yeah, exactly. Wish I would have got on that sooner. But and then who are 3 people who've inspired you and you can credit for making you the person you are today?
Oh, well, of course, Jesus and my wife. Those are givens. And my parents. So besides family, oh man. I mean, this is a hard question, So those people that like just rattle off people, awesome. I wouldn't be a musician today without John Cooper and Ben Burnley. Both those people for sure. So I would say that, and then gosh, I feel like I should say somebody who's awesome, but those 2 are awesome. And I said, I've got to choose somebody else besides family too. So dang it, my kids. Okay, I'm sorry. I know I said I'm not going to mention family, but come on, my kids. They're so
Yeah.
good. So Ben Burnley, John Cooper, my kids, and of course my wife and Jesus. There you go.
Awesome. And then any message you have for our military members currently serving overseas?
Oh my gosh. Thank you so much for your service and for everything that you do. I hope that you don't feel like you're alone. You've got brothers and sisters that love and care for you, and especially over here, we're rooting for you. We love you. I love you. Thank you for your service, and just thank you. So I appreciate it greatly. Otherwise, I wouldn't be able to do music if it wasn't for our military.
Awesome. Colton, man, it was great chatting it up with you, man. It's some good stuff, man, you got going on, and I look forward to what's in store in your future. Now, for any fans out there that were listening to this and maybe new to hearing about you and want to support you and check you out, where would you send them?
Yeah, you can check me out on YouTube. So just Colton Vance Music. Of course, streams are always appreciated, but if you like or subscribe with my YouTube, or just I would just endly appreciate, if you do like the music, share it with somebody that you would think that might need to hear it, or might find some encouragement from it. That means everything to me. So yeah, that would be the best way. That would hit me close to home and would be endlessly appreciated, is that. And call your local radio station, ask them to add Feeling Okay.
Awesome, man. Well, hey, once again, great talking with you, and keep doing what you're doing, man.
Thanks, dude. Thank you so much, man. And thank you for your service and everything that you do, man, and for encouraging others with your podcast and everything. It's so appreciated, dude. Thank you.
Awesome, man. Take care.
You too.
All right! Listen up! Hold on to your seats. Grab your girls, grab your beers.
Hey everybody, this is Charlie from Anthrax, and you are listening to today's Boondoggle.
This is Mark Metcalf, and you are listening to today's Boondoggle with Bailey on Domain Cleveland Radio.
You are listening to today's Boondoggle with Bailey on Domain Cleveland Radio. Yes, Kato Kaelin listens to this all the time.
Welcome to today's Boondoggle. Now here's your host.
I am Monty Heath, so one Heath, and you are listening to today's Boondoggle.
Hey, what's up? It's John from Skillet, and you are listening to today's Boondoggle on Domain Cleveland Radio.